Okay, now. So thank you very much. I'm honored to present the following roundtable about the role of local action groups in Europe, moderated by Thomas Utik, the Vice President for Democracy and Demography of the European Commission. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. So we are, as you can see, getting close to the end of the day. So it's interesting to see the level of interest for this, but it's also quite understandable. So I'm Tomasz Sutic. I'm a member of the cabinet of the Vice President of the European Commission, dealing with democracy and demography. So European Commission cares about democracy and demography, and specifically about how we can ensure that our rural areas thrive, and which is why we launched the long-term vision for rural areas, and which is why we also care about how local action groups can be integrated better with all of the other different efforts that we have in making lives in rural areas of higher quality. And I have the honor of being joined here today by Christina and Maya, who are representatives of LAGS. Christina is from Agri-Food Lithuania, and Maya is from More 249 from Croatia. So the idea of this roundtable is to actually see how we can talk about what connections can we make between local action groups that are very well established entities in rural communities and the new actors that are entering rural communities, the various startups or other innovators who are coming in there. So perhaps my first question to both of you would be to say a couple of words about the work that your LAG is doing, so that you actually bring closer a little bit the idea of a LAG to the people here. And then in a second round we could perhaps reflect on which kind of projects you think would be most suited or beneficial to get inputs from the startup community. So I start with you, maybe Maya, because you're closest to me.
Yes, good evening to everyone, as we are now in the end of the day. My name is Maja Barašić, and I'm from Croatia, from local action group LAG More 249. Maybe you are asking yourself, what does the number stands for? That are the islands that are in our LAG. So we have 249 islands in our local action group. So maybe to the next topic, maybe this is one of the problems in our LAG, connectivity. So a lot of people living on the islands, there are no buses, boats, direct lines, so they need to have their own boat, and the weather is the biggest problem over there. Also, there is a huge gap in coastal area in our LAG, where are the touristic places, and behind there are small villages not connected to the seaside. Also, we are now in the end of this 2014-2020 program. We have maybe one more tender to have it in our local action group, and that's it for our strategy for this time. Currently, we are writing the new one with new problems, new ideas, and hope to have some ideas over here also.
Maybe Maya, you can say a few words perhaps about an example of a project that your LAG has organized. Can you share?
From our local strategy.
From your
maybe the most popular currently in Croatia and in our area is for one young family living on an island called Piškera. A wife and a husband, 35 years old. They are living in one further island with their 2 kids, and they are growing olives. They have honey and sheep. So they got our tender for young farmers, 50,000 euros, and they decided to invest in to bring the energy by solar energy. Yes, that's the biggest problem over there, renewable energy. To island where there is no energy, no water, so they need to bring the water from the land to this island. That's the one. I don't know.
And what was the role of your LAG? What did you do? How did you help the family to get the funding?
So we knew them, we talked with them, and they decided it was really hard because a lot of people in Croatia, they do not trust they will get the tender, and that is 100% for them. That's the biggest problem. So we talked, and then they decided in the end to apply for it. In this tender, they were the only ones. They decided to get 50,000 euros, and the other one decided 20,000 because they were not sure that they will be in agriculture more than 5 years. What is the main reason to get 50,000 euros? So that problem of not trusting and not knowing what the future will become. So I think.
Thank you, Maya. I think that example really quite clearly demonstrates the role of the LAGs play in society, because you are in fact somehow connectors. As you say, you know the people, but you also know the programs. You know how the EU funding is structured, and you are kind of, in some ways connecting them through this unique knowledge that you have and unique position that you have. But I let you also speak a little bit, please.
Okay, so my name is Christina, and I represent Agri-Food Lithuania. We are an organization which basically works with the whole food value chain, and we are not a LAG, but we work and cooperate together with the LAGs. And I think LAGs play a crucial role in rural areas because, as you said, connecting people, because they know the people the best in their area. They know what they need, for example, and they're the ones who are holding those initiatives and moving forward. But there are also many challenges, as Maya is saying. For example, also in Lithuania, we have many LAGs, like almost 50. And it's quite a big number for being a small country. But we have good stories, like, for example, one lady, she moved from the city to the village, and she started to make cheese. And then she talked with her friends, and almost whole village started in each different house making different products, like growing eggs, like chickens, then another one baking cakes and stuff. So this village, we call it now smart, because later on, like you said, they implemented renewable energy, and I think that's another very important issue, since we're talking a lot of the energy insecurity right now in Europe. So implementing renewable energy projects in the rural areas, that's also very important, and LAGs could play a crucial role being there and doing this. Of course, in Croatia, it's a little bit different with the islands. Yeah.
In our part, but as you said, we also have a lot of LAGs, 54 for Croatia, and we are getting 3 new ones. So it's a big...
Yeah, and Lithuania, since we collaborate a lot, they're very active. They need funding, and I think it is very important to talk that it's not only would be, for example, funded or work under one program. It could be connected with different initiatives. And as we know, this new initiative has started startup villages, and Agri-Food Lithuania is going to be organizing this event on the 21st, 2nd, and 3rd of October this year, first hackathon in order to solve the challenges, how to become startup village, which is needed. And I think LAGS could be one of the stakeholders, very important stakeholder, bringing on the table actually the challenges, what they're facing, and then get the suggestions, the solutions from teams, from the people who are experts and could bring the knowledge to what is needed for the community. So this is a huge opportunity for us to collaborate and also involve different municipalities, rural governmental, local governmental organizations, for example, and attract the attention, of course, because we talk a lot. And there is another initiative like Smart Villages, which has been already for some time around. So I think connecting all those initiatives and working together, collaborating is very important. And in that case, real value could be created, and we could see real results, because it won't be easy to implement everything.
Thank you very much also for those words. What would be interesting for me, from the perspective of the European Commission, let's say, is to actually showcase and really demonstrate how we already have a very well-working system of the leader approach, which has actually brought billions of euros across the years to the rural areas. And now we have the local action groups, who are really the key stakeholders in the leader approach, who are basically able to understand the needs of the local people and bring them forward in an articulated way, so that they can communicate to the broader public. Now the question is, how can we do the same with the startups and with the ecosystem that we are trying to do here? I think the example that you have given of a hackathon is a really great one, and I think it's something that we have to see how we can further support also from our side. The question is then, how can we make the people, and maybe that's something for the LAGS also to reflect on, how can we make the people realize what kind of resources we are talking about? This is about 80% of the territory of Europe, and about 30% of people who are living in LAGS. And the question is, how can we bring solutions for those people in a way that is also meaningfully attractive for the startups? So I don't know if you have any concrete ideas or specific challenges that you already think of that could be interesting for what you have heard through the event here. Could you see some challenges that you are faced with that could be solved with some of the solutions that we have here?
Of course, there has been through those 2 days many startups and many different technologies being created. I think what we really need pilots and successful pilots. So this is basics for everything. We can do the hackathon, we can talk with the startups, but making actually this initiative, Startup Village, to work and actually see how it works in everyday life, because it could be different concepts. I think that's the beauty of the initiative. There is no strict way how it's supposed to be. So we are all together right now creating. We have seen already some of the smart villages already acting and working through Europe on different scales, by the sea or in the rural area, and it could be in any sectorial way, or could be cross-sectorial and stuff. So I think it's very important after the hackathon, so meeting the startups, then to move to the pilots. And to move for the pilots, also we need to collaborate. Like, for example, LAG could be one of the stakeholders and say what they need in their particular area. That's, again, very important, because different regions, they have the sectorial priorities. Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Different parts of different countries, they need different ideas. There are different problems. So maybe for us, transportation, for the others, energy, electricity. But I think the biggest problem is not trusting people to the new things. So, like Christina said, pilots where people could see what they can get from something. That's, I think, the biggest problem or the biggest solution to.
You know, this old saying, seeing is believing.
And one of the ways, obviously for pilots, one needs funding, right?
Yes.
And that's something we can do from the EU side, obviously. We can also entice the national governments to do that. And that's one of the things that we have tried to do through the long-term vision for rural areas. But another way to do that could also be through crowdfunding, and that's something we've been discussing with Mauricio earlier. And it's interesting to see, I think the point that you were making, Mauricio, is really valid one, where you have rural communities that are traditionally known to have these established links between people and the communities of trust, where crowdfunding kind of naturally has evolved over the years. It perhaps wasn't called crowdfunding at the time, but has certainly existed there. Now the question is, can we work together to bring some, and both bring through pilots perhaps, but then also scale up some of the approaches through technology and make the people use it in a way that is easy for them. Now there is an element of trust, as you mentioned, Maya, and I think the question is for trust. It's also a lot about education and about getting people to appreciate and understand that there are values in these solutions. And that's also why I really appreciate this event, because here we are seeing some concrete examples of what people have done. And it would be interesting that we do some cross-fertilization, if you wish, of taking some of the examples that we have seen here and infusing them in the LUG networks and seeing how we can showcase them to the people and raise their awareness that they can benefit from some of the things. But beyond only us talking here, I wanted to open the floor to anybody who's in the room who would like to participate in the discussion, have a question, anything that we have said that has interested you perhaps. I know that we're not too many, but that actually allows us to have this more animated discussion if you find that useful. No takers? Okay, then I have another question, and that is a little bit more concretely on how have you seen from the perspective of the local action groups, this is, as I said, something that is quite established. What have been the success factors that have led to actually this becoming so big in every country? You have 55 in Lithuania, 54 in Croatia, now one new. So we are talking about an important coverage and an important network of players covering the whole territory and connecting people. What can the startup villages learn from what you have gone through as LUGs? What are some of the lessons that you can share, perhaps?
So maybe the leader approach. So we have a great connectivity with small farmers. They were not able to get the funds from national in our region, for example, because we are a very well developed region. So we knew what their problems are, so we made our tenders like that so they can apply for that tenders. Usually they weren't successful. So today we have 40 people, 40 small farmers that got the money through our local strategy, and they were not able to get or to apply for that same money on the national agency. We knew the problems, we put them in our local strategy. Maybe also that for the startups, so they can get the informations from us, or if maybe we could have, I don't know if we in Croatia have a database of startups, no. But here, for example, also Mauricio, me and Mary, we didn't know about crowdfunding, that we can maybe apply for it. So for us, it was a big thing to came here, to hear something about it, and maybe to implement it later. I think for us it's a great thing. We could talk to people, and maybe because the local groups, we are consist of different type of people, different ideas, different problems, maybe different things to solve, and I don't know. That's for it.
I think, first of all, LACs could be the main stakeholder in creating the funding programs or funding schemes, for example, especially on the national level, because we've seen many not mistakes, but could be improvements. So it takes a couple of years until you see what could be done better. So it would be nice already to start from the good start and have a good background. And LAG could be those advisors, for example, experts, how it should be funded or what they're looking actually for in welcoming startups in the regions, for example, what would be like beneficial or common value created for both of the communities. I think that would be very good start if they could help that with the policy making and stuff and advising.
What about the rigidity? Because we're talking about funding. Normally, if we talk about funding, that means it's either national or EU money, or sometimes regional. But it's relatively rigid and difficult sometimes for startups to actually fulfill some of the conditions. Is that really true, what I'm saying? Or have you seen also, let's say, reasonably flexible funding opportunities?
In my opinion, if I may start, right now it's the golden age for startups. There are so many different programs. I wish it would be for the LACs as much programs. For the startups, when I say that it's golden age, there are so many different opportunities, starting from EU funding, national funding, funding from just idea, funding for the seed, for the already more developed projects. And so you can choose on whatever you want to do. And what I've been in the sector for 15 years. I've never seen so many opportunities to fail. When I say so many opportunities to fail, I mean you just given the money to try out your idea from the scratch. So this is fantastic time to go and start a startup. I'm always saying that, and in Lithuania we, for example, encourage a lot women in agri-food sector and work with them and encourage them to create products, services for the rural areas, for the agriculture. In Lithuania we have agri-food sector mostly in the rural areas, so you can say that we are encouraging startups already to come for the rural areas in doing such programs. But this is good big opportunity. Just go ahead and try something. I think those programs are very flexible.
Yes, in Croatia we are monofunded. I don't know if you in Lithuania also, like only agriculture funded, local action groups. So
for
the
local
exactly. Yes, only, but the startups only connected with the agronomy, so agriculture in Croatia, like you said, women's more working, and so maybe in that field. I don't know how a local action group in the beginning of the startups can help. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so it's also
only as
something.
Idea.
Thank you. So it's also something concretely on that for us to reflect on as the Commission when we set the rules as to how the local action groups are funded, so that we can ensure that there are multiple sources across the board and that would allow or make the rules as flexible as possible to make the participation possible also for startups, and not to limit the sectors, for example, and where it could go. But of course, it's always difficult when you talk to people. Every sector wants more money for themselves, so it's always an interesting challenge. But that's also the value of startups, where you are able to go across sectors in a way, because you are dealing with R&D funding perhaps,
Yes.
but also in a specific sector. Then, so you can tap the two points. But I hope this has been useful for you and for everyone here. I hope we've been able to kind of bring the role of local action groups in Europe closer to you. I don't know if you have any closing words, any invitations, any final thoughts?
Yeah, of course. I would invite everyone, to participate, especially in this first hackathon initiative. How we imagine it. In one side, we will try to solve actual challenges that we might get from LAGs. So we will try to attract more LAGs as a stakeholders and municipalities in the regions. But on the other side, I'm encouraging everyone to come and create concepts overall for the startup village and see how we can imagine, for example, depending on the regions, depending on the sectorial priorities for the regions, maybe even for the looking into the smart specialization for each country, for each region, and connect everything and see what we can do out of this, and then, of course, implement. So these are my thoughts.
Yes, as you said, in the beginning of October, it will be online.
21st of October, it's starting. It's going to last for 3 days, 21st, 2nd, and 3rd. Yeah, and we're going to be disseminating a lot about this event.
It's going to be online?
Yes, right? Online. This is very important, so everyone can join all over Europe.
So we will try to see it online and to get that startup ideas and smart villages into our region maybe, and to implement, to say to people, you can see it, I hope. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your participation, for your time, and thank you for bringing this closer to this group, not only here now, but also throughout the event and throughout the work that you're doing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.